Hey everybody, my name is Sue Figge and I'm going to be your instructor for the next 6 weeks. I'm teaching Intro to Criminal Justice. My background in criminal justice is I was a police officer for 32 years, and in those 32 years I learned quite a few things. But I've been teaching also at Bay Path for many, many years, about 15 to 20 right now. I taught at the police academy for close to 35 years. So I've been an instructor for an awful long time, and criminal justice is always was what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and I have a great love for it. I hope that that comes across to you during this entire next 6 weeks that we have, that criminal justice to me was the best decision I ever made, and a job, because if you love it, it's not so much a job, it's something that you just look forward to every day. Not to say that there wasn't hard days, because there were definitely hard days, but it was always a challenge and always kept me going. So in this class, I wanted to go over what's expected of me and what's expected of you. But first, let's look at what the book is. The book is going to be The Criminal Justice in Action, and it's the 9th edition. If you don't know where to find that, you can always contact the library or the bookstore, and they can help you. There's many places online that you can go to get an ebook on it. There's ways to find it. But if you have an issue, please feel free to send me a text or an email. On my announcements, I'll be giving you my email as well as my telephone number. I do best with texting. So on our grades, I wanted to go over a couple of things that are expected of you. Each week you'll have a module that you'll be looking at. The module is really important, but the rubric is as important, so you know what's expected of you. And we're going to go over this week's and every week's. Every day I will get up and I will go to my emails to see if there's anything I need to address. I'll look at my text to see if there's anything I need to address, and I'll also do that at night. So feel free to, if you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you want to text me, feel free to text me, because I will get it in the morning, or I may be up at 3 in the morning. Who knows? I mean, I worked 4 to 12 for 14 years, and I tend to not sleep a lot. So on your summary, you have a course outline. I want you to go through that and see the different things that are there that we'll be covering. But I want to now go on to your responsibilities, and then we're going to go on to the first week's module. The first thing I need you to know is the first week you must have your work in on time. I also need you to log in and check. I've had some issues in the past where students only check maybe once or twice a week. You need to do that more often. For example, it benefits you. If you send something in early and I look at it, I will grade it when it comes in. If I think it needs more, I'm going to send you a response and say, hey, how about if you add some more and you can bring your grade up? So that's important. If you get your work in early, it's always good. It's never good to get in late, because I will mark it down each and every time if it's late. If it's late with cause, and with cause means legitimate reasons, I've learned from the hard way that I need to have legitimate reasons, and you need to contact me before your papers are late. So you can't call me at 10 minutes after midnight and say, hey, they're going to be late today. You need to contact me before, and that's why I give you my cell phone number, and I also give you my email. All right, and I realize life happens, but it has to be a legitimate reason for it. If your work does not come in, and let's say it's like a minute late, believe it or not, across my screen it goes late in bright red letters, late. And that is a 30% deduction. That's a 30% deduction. Now, I understand that there are some issues. Last semester we had people who lost online. They weren't able to get any internet for a couple of days because of loss of power. Those are all understandable, and I can work through those. We'll work those, but you need to contact me. Your work for the first week, I said, needs to be in on time in your last week work. But if your discussions don't come in on time, you cannot put those in late. So your discussions cannot come in late. But your responses, if you get them in by 11:59 on Saturday, you can get 60% of that grade. So don't give up and continue trying on and get me in your responses. And you need 4 responses. Make sure you look at your rubric when you see that, and we'll go over that as well. So my responsibilities too is I'm going to look at this course, and if there's a problem with the course, you need to let me know. I didn't design it, the schools designed them, but I really do like what they've done, and I think that if you want to add something to it, or you think that there's something you don't understand on it, feel free. I will get back with you within 4 days of receipt, not fact. I will get back with you within a day. I will always get back with you within a day. All right. I will typically, if you send me a telephone number, I will text you. I prefer texting, so if I don't interrupt you with anything that you're doing, that's important. I think you need to look what your grades are here, and then the rubrics and the policies and procedures. Please go over those and know those. I know this is a 120 class, so you're probably all freshmen just starting. You need to be here on time for these classes. You need to check in, all right? The next thing I want to do is the module. And the modules are really important. And for the first week, we have, it starts with the overview. It gives you what the overview is going to be for the week, what your course competencies are. All right. It will then give you, go back to my modules and get to the second one because I can't do it with my face down there. The learning materials. Now, I have watched both of these videos and I thought they were fabulous. So I think it's important for you to look at them because you're going to see a lot of things that will make sense to you. When I first became a police officer, I didn't understand the court system at all and how the system went. History is important because history repeats itself. And so we need to look at the history of where we've been and where we're going and where we really messed up. I'll give you an example where we messed up. We put a lot of money into the DARE program, and the DARE program doesn't work. So we needed to spend money better spent. We need to take money and put it somewhere where it would be used in a better capacity. Due process is extremely important, and this is a great video to watch. Both of these are a little over 30 minutes. And I'll send you chapter 2 as a PowerPoint as well, but I'm also going to send you chapter 1. The next module we have on this is going to be your discussion point. Elements of crime. And so when you look at this, they've really spelled out what they're looking for you to do. And then you have to put in, now they no longer say you have to have 250 words. But I want to go over a little bit about a discussion. If you put a discussion in, you say, I agree to everything that's on here, that's not going to cut it as a discussion. It should be approximately 250 words, and you should have a source. And the way to look at that is look at your rubric and see what your rubric says that it wants from you on this, all right? And that's something, that's a downfall for a lot of people. They'll put a response into somebody that's there. They'll read something that someone wrote and they'll put a response and say, well, I don't agree with you. But then they don't say why. And then they're not respectful. You always need to be respectful. And they don't put a source there. So you need a source, the first for the discussion, but your responses should be, you should be looking and seeing what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and putting some information why. Then we're going to go to, this is your paper, your assignment. For the second part of this week, you have an assignment context. And I want to go over a little bit about this. I have just a few minutes. If you don't understand something, so we're going to look at what federalism is. I sit there and say, they understand the structure of the criminal justice system. You must understand the concept of federalism, which means that government powers are shared by national government and the state. So we have federal and state that are involved. Now, for some crimes, you can be charged in both courts. For some crimes, most crimes you cannot. So know what federalism is, and when you're going through this, we're going to go through the state and federal courts. Our court system in this country includes trial courts and appellate courts. Each state has their trial courts, intermediate appellate courts, and state supreme courts. So when you look at the state supreme courts, let's say that you have a case that's in the district court. What kind of cases can be held in the district court? They can be cases that carry up to 2.5 years in a county prison, so a county jail, not state prison. You cannot get state prison out of a district court. Typically what happens, a person gets arrested, they get arraigned in a district court, and then they get bound over or they get indicted into the superior court, where the superior court can hear cases that give more than 2.5 years in a state prison time. So if somebody tells me, hey, Johnny did state prison time, I know that he's been charged with a felony, because you can only be charged, you can only have felony arrest in a state court. The trial courts can hear many things, but if something is not agreed upon, they can appeal it to the appellate courts. What are some of the things that can be brought to the appellate court? Well, let's say that Mary, I make up these names, by the way, Johnny and Mary are my brother and sister, and they haven't been arrested. But so let's say that Mary gets charged with a misdemeanor charge for larceny, and they put her in jail for 2 years. That's really over the guidelines. She can appeal that to the appellate court saying, look, they went over the state guidelines. You know, this was ridiculous. They shouldn't have done that. And the appellate court can determine that they were right or they were wrong. Our trial courts are in districts. In Hampden County is Springfield, Westfield. You have Hampshire County, Northampton. Federal courts is a whole nother story. We're number 1 federal court in Massachusetts. We also have Puerto Rico with us. So we are the first federal court. Our federal court system consists of trial courts, intermediate appellate courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We all see where the United States Supreme Court is right now, a very conservative court. That's why it's very important that you vote. If you don't like what the state Supreme Court is saying, you need to vote. Ladies, I cannot stress that enough. Your vote matters. So the same structure exists in the federal level, but you don't go to the same jails. If you are convicted in a federal court, you're going to go to a federal jail. And a federal jail says they can put you anywhere they want you in any of the federal systems. The federal court also has evidence admitted a little easier than the state courts, at least for Massachusetts. Massachusetts, it's very hard to get evidence in. In the federal court, it's a little easier. So I wanted to go over that. So state prisons, and they said in this paper that you're reading, it says convicted in Mass, it said 1 year for a misdemeanor. No, it's up to 2.5 years. Up to 2.5 years. Now, there are some cases that are felonies that can be heard in the district court level. Like an indecent assault and battery can be heard in a district court level. An uttering, which is writing your name on somebody else's check or using somebody else's charge card and signing your name, uttering. That is a 20-year felony, but that can be heard in the state court but you cannot get over 2.5 years in the house. You can only get 2.5 years, up to 2.5 years in the House of Correction. In the community corrections, and I'm going through these as I read them in the thing, and the community corrections in Massachusetts involves all the agencies. You have parole, probation, DYS, DCF. DCF is Department of Children and Families. You have district court probation. You have police departments. You have schools, all involved. All the communities involved in this, and they meet typically monthly or every 2 weeks, and they go over what the communities, that particular communities. If you want to look at a really fun community corrections, and I mean fun because I think it's one of the leads, is the community corrections it's called Red Hook out of New York. Red Hook has some great things going on. It's restorative justice, but they have some great things and they're working. Parole is a different thing by most people. Parole, if you are in jail and you want to get out early, you can go on parole. Sometimes it has to be okay, but you have a parole officer who says, you need to be in your house between 6 and 7 6 at night, 7 in the morning. If you're not there, we can yank you up and arrest you. You also give us permission to go in your house every single time we want and look for whatever we want. You have to go by the rules. So parole is a really some people say, I'm not going on parole. I'm not going to let you mess with me. So we wanted to go over the systems. Part of this thing that your paper you're going to be doing this week, or your PowerPoint. And I only have a few minutes, so I'm going to go over this quick. You have a choice. You can read this, and I'll send this to you that I did. You can do 2 things. One is you can do a paper, or you can do a PowerPoint. But see where it says 4 to 5 pages, APA format? I go by that. If you send me a 3-page paper, your paper is going to be dramatically reduced. If you send me 3.5, it's going to be reduced. It must be 4 to 5 full pages of content. The first page is going to be your introduction. Your last page is going to be your sources. And then you're going to have in the middle 4 to 5 pages of content. If you do a PowerPoint, you have to do a minimum of 10 slides. And you must send me a separate reference page. Has to be submitted. So I hope this helps, and I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.